Good evening and welcome to It's Still a Game. I'm your host, Al Barisi. And the winter sports season at Braintree High School, Thayer Academy, and Archbishop Williams are all winding down. Some teams have already had the opportunity to participate in their individual sports postseason tournament. Others are waiting for the seedings. Tonight we're going to have the opportunity to talk with the head coach and the two co-captains of the Braintree High School girls varsity basketball team as they await the seedings from the MIAA to find out who and when they're going to play next in the state tournament and defend their state title. We also want to congratulate several teams who have qualified for postseason play. In addition to the girls basketball team, head coach Bob Crook and his basketball program have also qualified for postseason play, as have the boys and the girls hockey programs. Head coach Kevin Burchell with the girls team and Dave Fazana with the boys team have qualified for the state tournament and will represent Braintree exceptionally well. We want to wish them all the best of luck. Some teams that have already participated in their state tournament, the boys gymnastics team, which is a perennial power in the state of Massachusetts, finished third in the state championship. Colin Babineau and Munchette finished fifth and sixth respectively in the men's all-round competition. We want to congratulate them. Wrestling is waiting to find out when and where they're going to participate in the state tournament, and several Braintree High School wrestlers look to perform exceptionally well individually, and Braintree as a team hopes to compete very, very well in the tournament. Swimming and diving, which is typically a winter sport, obviously is a fall sport for Braintree High School, so they won't be participating. And indoor and outdoor track participated in the state meet with several individuals distinguishing themselves in their respective events. But tonight we're going to have the opportunity to talk girls basketball. The defending Division I state champions, the team that has a 60-game consecutive winning streak. And we're going to have a chance to meet the head coach and the two co-captains and talk about the success of the program, the challenges and the pressures they face, and what we have to look forward to in the upcoming state tournament. So when we come back, girls basketball here on BCAM. We'll see you in a minute. Welcome back to It's Still a Game. I'm your host, Al Barisi, and tonight we have the privilege of speaking with the head coach and the two co-captains of the Braintree High School girls varsity basketball program. We have head coach Krista McDonald and the co-captains Brianna Herlihy and Taylor Perry. Ladies, I want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule. I know this is a busy time of year for you, and we just appreciate you taking the time and making time for us. Coach, let's start by having the audience learn a little bit more about you. We've done this a few times, so I think you know the routine by now, but if you could just tell us about you and how you got to where you are right now.
Sure. My name is Krista McDonald. I've been the head coach of Braintree High School girls basketball for 7 years. This is my 7th year, which is crazy. I'm from West Roxbury. I live in Norwood High School. I feel like I live in Norwood High School. I live in Norwood and I work at Norwood High School. I'm the head of guidance over there. I have been for the past 4 years, and I've worked at Norwood for the past 7. Went to Boston Latin School for high school. Went to Stonehill College. Had the fortune of playing basketball there as well. And one thing led to another, and here I am a few years later, having the opportunity to coach some incredible kids.
Well, I think a lot of people would talk about these incredible kids have an incredible coach, and we want to recognize the fact that you are the defending Division I Coach of the Year for the state of Massachusetts, so we also want to congratulate you on that. But a real quick side note, and usually we talk about this later on in the program, but you mentioned the fact that you played your college ball at Stonehill. And there's a connection there now with one of the Stonehill co-captains, Paige Marshall, having been a former captain for you and a distinguished player here at Braintree High School, taking you to the Eastern Mass Finals in the Garden. I mean, what's it like for you to have one of your former high school players playing at your alma mater, supporting the Stonehill program, and knowing that there's a connection that continues, and not just at Stonehill, and we can talk about that later, but particularly with Paige at Stonehill?
Right, yeah, I couldn't be more proud of a kid. I think I've been fortunate where I haven't cut the ties at all from Stonehill, so I see about at least 5 games a year. So to be able to see her representing something that's so near and dear to my heart, and in such a great way. She's taken off tremendously there. She didn't have a ton of college looks, and I knew then that she was sneaking under the radar a lot. And then now she just hit a buzzer beater last night to beat St. A's by 3, and she's 13 points shy of 1,000 points. So I mean, talk about a kid who's made the absolute most of her ability.
Now, you talk about the program that we have here at Braintree High School, and we talk about 2-time defending state champions, and we've had 2 Gatorade Players of the Year and several nominees in consecutive years. And the word program as opposed to a team, and you talk about Paige and Taylor Russell and Katie Norton and some of the other players that have gone before, and even before them. Talk a little bit about how you build a program and not necessarily just a specific team for one particular year. And from that, we're going to segue to the importance of Braintree youth basketball and what they mean to building your program. But describe your focus in terms of how you build a program for the long term.
Yeah, I think when my staff first came in, we just wanted to develop a culture of the basics, the fundamentals. And it wasn't like this wasn't built before us. It was something that we were just trying to continue. Just in terms of, on the court stuff is more the character piece. Regardless of the talent you have, because that's going to come in waves year to year. I think every kid that's stepped foot into this program has showed a lot of charisma, a lot of energy. Just really good high class character, grace with losses, showmanship or sportsmanship with wins. And I think if you start there and hopefully as you go along expose them to different things that don't even necessarily take place on a basketball court, but you talk about academics and you talk about extracurriculars and all those things. Your goal, I think, and probably every staff's goal, is to build the total player, the total student athlete.
Well, one thing that's been a characteristic of your teams, and it has been for several years, and it's not just me, and obviously having the good fortune to be able to broadcast the games and maybe a little closer to the program than a lot of people are, but anybody that has any kind of connection talks about women of character and women of class, and it's about the individuals and not just the athlete. It's how they represent themselves, it's how they represent your program, it's how they represent the school and the community. And is this something that you look for as you get freshmen into the program, or you're looking at the BYB program and saying who's coming up, who's going to play? When you go to the East-South Jamboree, you're saying who's going to be on my squad next year. Is that something you consciously look for in the players that you want to bring into the program?
Oh, absolutely. I think if there's someone that's going to be a bad apple of a program, or already is, of their own team, we hear about it, and I think I never like to take what everybody else says to heart, so I try to see it for myself. And you can tell by going to these BYB games and travel games, and who has, and that most of them do, just an incredible character and presence and the way they carry themselves. I think that's the nice thing, and I know we'll talk about BYB, but that's the nice thing about the parents and the coaches that have formulated that nice, fundamental basis for how kids are going to act. I think it resonates at the high school level, and I think hopefully when they get out of here too.
Well, that's a good segue, and we'll use that to get into BYB. And I think you and Bob Crook have done a phenomenal job with the boys and the girls programs in terms of developing a relationship and a connection with the youth program. And having women of character and having young men of character come into Bob's program is one thing, but when you talk about the technical skills, the basketball skills, how important is the fundamentals that are taught at BYB, and what do you do to establish that relationship? How do you maintain that connection?
Yeah, we're lucky, like you said too, the parents that our coaches know what they're talking about. So on the basketball skills front, they're teaching them all the right things. So it's less about hey, we're going to win this game by 20, and we're going to go zone, and we're going to stand there like trees while the other team tries to throw the ball over us, or we're going to, full court press so that another team can't even get over half court. They actually, you see them play man-to-man defense, which we build our whole program around as defense. And you see them pass well. You see them do all these little things. You have kids boxing out. I mean, you don't have kids boxing out in many other towns out there at the age of, in 6th grade, 7th grade. So if they're already doing those things, and then they come to the high school and they're just hearing it again, and maybe it's at a faster level, a faster pace, maybe it's a little bit more intricate in terms of the plays that we have, they already have that basis. So there isn't one kid that comes in that I'm trying to explain what a closeout is on defense. They all know that, where I think that's very rare in comparison to some other towns.
But I think there's also a unique element that you're not just sitting back and waiting for the players to come to you. You're going down there and you're getting involved, and you're working with the coaches, and the players are working with the young kids. I mean, when you look at senior night, you look at BYB night, and you can see the relationship between the young women and the young men that are in the young boys that are in the BYB program, and how they react to the players at the Braintree High School level. There's a relationship there. It's almost like a sibling relationship. They know these kids, they respect these kids, they want to emulate these kids. That's something that doesn't happen by accident. And you guys reach out to the programs, and if you want to talk a little bit about what you do to maintain that relationship, I think that's important.
Yeah, and like you said, it's really cute to see how much these kids look up to them. I mean, they're like celebrities in the town. I run a camp every summer called Hoops Nation. We have a ton of kids that go to that. I feel like a lot of it starts there because it's the 4th grade up. So you get to really know them. We try intentionally not to make the numbers too big. We only go to 4th grade so that we can actually get to know the kids that are there. We run clinics. We have some stuff over the summer. We have stuff during the season. And I think one of the nicest things this year is that we've had each of the travel teams be a special guest at each of our games. So they sit behind the bench, they come down with us before games and at halftime and after games. And I think just for them to get a feel of what the coaches are saying, how the players are responding, which is always positive, I think that's a really good role model to have hopefully in terms of a program.
I think you reflect a relationship that other towns may have in other sports, and we constantly use the example of Walpole in football. Little boys in Walpole don't dream of playing for the Patriots. They dream of playing for Walpole High School. Right. And I think when you ask young girls and young boys in Braintree, they're not talking about playing for the WNBA or playing for the Celtics. They want to play for Braintree High School. And that's got to make you feel good. It's got to make the young women that are on the program now feel good about what they're doing and what they're establishing in terms of a legacy. Now, again, you said you're from West Roxbury, you went to Boston Latin, you're not a Bay State League person. When you came in as the head coach at Braintree High School, what were some of the nuances that you picked up about the Bay State League? And we argue about this all the time. We have debates, and when I say we, I mean Massachusetts basketball media, not that it's a huge network, but they talk about who's the best team and who's the greatest team of all time, and historically this and historically that. But arguably, the Bay State League is the toughest public school conference in any sport in the state of Massachusetts. And you stepped in, and what did you learn right away about the Bay State League, and how has it changed as you've been here for 7 years?
Yeah, I don't think it's changed too much in terms of, I mean, you are so battle tested every day, and even the teams that might not have the greatest talent from year to year they try different things. So no one ever sits back and says, okay, we're going to let this team beat us by 20 points. They throw a 2-2-1 zone and a 1-1-3 they try all these different variations of things that you could see in the postseason. So I feel like we've always been prepared to enter the playoffs. And I think there's just there's a tough style of basketball, and I think our teams are incredibly well coached in this league. And I'm not meaning for myself. I mean the other teams in this league, they scout you, they know every play we run. They're calling their out of bounds plays as we're calling them for our team. So I think it makes it a challenge every single game, because you truly have to outwork every coach, and these guys have to outwork every player.
Well, I think it's funny when you say that all these other teams know you and scout you, and having the opportunity to talk to the coaches before a game, if for nothing else, just to get their starting lineups. But I say, okay, how do you plan to defend Braintree tonight? And it's almost comical that the answer I hear most often is, hope they miss. they don't have an answer, and they keep trying to come up, as you said, with a new defense or some other wrinkle or a full court pressure. But the one thing that is consistent throughout the Bay State League, and again, that we've seen probably because we see more games than the average fan, is that all these teams are tough and they don't back down and they're not intimidated. And it's just you guys aren't intimidated either. And you know that if you get a team that gives you a run for your money, you're going to find a way to beat them. And I think the mental and the emotional aspect of the game is what's impressed most people about the program you've built here at Braintree.
Yeah, and I think, it's funny, as you were saying that, I got an email from a player in our league, and we had been playing against this team, and she got incredibly passionate and incredibly into the game and probably said something she didn't think was appropriate at the time. So she emailed to apologize, and it was an entire email just saying that she gets so excited to play Braintree. She can never keep her emotions in check because it's just a different game. And she was saying it like this is the championship of our season every season. And so I think that's a huge compliment, first to that kid for reaching out and actually having the character to do that, but also to these kids and what they bring every year. It really sets the bar pretty high.
Now, when you plan your season, and again, you've built a program of success. I'm not going to call it luck. I mean, you guys have worked for this, and you earned every little bit of success, every accolade that you've gotten. But is it different when you're at the top and you know that you got the bullseye on your back, that every team, whether it be in the Bay State League and the Newton Norths and the Wellesleys and the Needhams, who play you tough every year, year in and year out, or whether it's the Bishop Fiends or the Andovers or the other teams that you play, and now it's even on a national stage because you've got teams from New York and Connecticut and Rhode Island that want to come and knock Braintree off the perch, if you will. Does it change how you coach, knowing that you're at the top of the mountain and everybody's trying to knock you off, as opposed to being the underdog?
Yeah, I think it's definitely there's a psychology to it. I think it's we mentioned a couple years ago we started with the motto of pressure is a privilege, and I think we all understand, and a lot of these kids haven't even dealt with ever losing one game, let alone like a lot of games. So it's kind of just been the norm for most of them, and to their credit, they've done such a good job with just focusing on the next game and not worrying about it. But we know, the reality is that we get the best of every team's game, and we talk about it as coaches that we love it. It's a team that's mediocre comes in and all of a sudden has like 4 all-stars that game, hitting bank shots and hitting this shot, and we laugh about it, but I think this crew does a good job about coming back to reality and knowing that, okay, if teams are going to step up, then we're going to have to step up that much more each day, and I think they've done that well.
Well, and again, to give credit where credit is due, you're not doing this by yourself. You have a phenomenal coaching staff. And when people, again, it speaks to the program, not to the varsity team. When you look at the performance of the JV squad and you look at the performance of the freshman teams and what they've done to help you develop players, and some of these players would be starters on any other team in the state, and they're playing JV ball, or they're, again, what do you do to build that culture of, as you said, pressure is a privilege, and that's a great quote. I think I'm going to steal it. But that. I stole it too. So okay. But we've always seen in the program that they don't get flustered. They stay calm. They stay within themselves. And you and I talked about this years ago when Brianna and her sister and the other big 3, quote unquote, when they were freshmen and they made it to the Garden, I say, how do you keep them focused? When they started their sophomore year, how do you keep them from looking at the Garden? And that's everything in between is just a path to get there. And you've done a phenomenal job of doing that year after year, is keeping them focused on the game in hand. How do you drill that into them? How do you instill that culture in your team?
Well, I think the nice thing is that we've actually, because we've been there, there's a thirst to get back there, and that kind of marinates all off season in terms of wanting to be in that position again. So you have something that they're chasing every year, and they know how good it feels, but at the same time, they know what it takes to get there, and I think I mentioned this before to you. It's funny because you'll have like little kids come up and say like, now what date do you play in the Garden? And this is at the beginning of the year, and you're cracking up because you're like, oh no, this just isn't a given. We actually have to work really hard and make the tournament first and do all these little things. But to, again, my team's credit, they're incredibly humble, and that's a very, very rare thing, I think, in sports right now. And I think I have a coaching staff that's really humble, and even though they win, it really is all about that next game. And to be honest, I'm surprised at where we're at this year. I thought we'd get tripped up once or twice, just because we have some younger players, and not even younger, but just playing different roles. And I thought that, maybe they would get a little tripped up. And again, they just find a way every single time. So even at times when I might question things, this team never seems to.
Now, we don't want to burst the bubble, but you can't go undefeated forever. Eventually, Braintree has to lose at some point, whether it's going to be this year or 5 years from now. Have you given any thought to how you're going to handle that with the team? And is that something you prepare for, or you just say, no, we got to focus on winning, we got to focus on doing the best we can, and we'll cross that bridge when we get to it?
Tons of tears, screaming, yelling, emotional breakdowns, counselors. No, we'll be, honestly, we'll be totally okay. I think whenever that time comes, and hopefully it's no time soon, you take it in stride, and like any game you're going to be playing from now on, we play Newton North on Monday, and then we have all good teams coming up. I think there's 2 really good teams that play every night, and 1 really good team wins and 1 really good team loses, and you kind of just have to accept your place within that, and hopefully it's not one of the games that ends your season.
Now, let's look past the season a little bit, and we've talked a little bit about Paige Marshall playing at Stonehill, but in the bigger scope, you've got a number of players playing at the next level, and we talked about the big 3, and we have Brianna's sister Bridget playing at Villanova, and we know that Brianna's committed, so she's going to be joining her there, and Ashley Russell's playing at Penn, Molly Reagan's playing at Liberty. For you as a coach, how much time do you have and how much effort do you try to put in to follow all these players? Because you've got a number, not just those 3. They're the ones that unfortunately got most of the notoriety, but all these players that are playing at the different levels at college basketball. Number one, how does it make you feel? That's kind of a loaded question. We know the answer. But how much time do you have to follow them and keep track of them and see what they're doing?
Yeah, well, first of all, so proud, every time I get to go see them. And it's a really good problem to have that you have to find time within your schedule to go see all the kids that are playing. And the nice thing is that those that are getting more minutes play really well. They play hard. They might not be the stars. Some might be. And then even the kids on the bench are like the first ones off the bench, clapping and yelling. And they're just really good at whatever role they have. And I think that's always been important to our entire culture. The good news is I don't really have much of a life, so I'm able to get around to a lot of those games. I've seen Maura Russell at Regis this year. It's actually funny, this Saturday I'm going to Stonehill for Paige Marshall's senior game, and then heading down to see Yale play UPenn to see Ashley Russell. So I've seen Providence College play Villanova. It's all over the map, and it's a really it's a nice thing. Rachel Norton at Bowdoin and Taylor at Babson, so you could keep going. There's a ton of kids out there. It's nice.
Now, when you have a player at this level and they come to you and say, Coach, I love the game, I've got a passion for the game, and I want to play at the next level, what do you have to do as a high school coach? And we're going to talk a little bit about the difference between high school and AAU ball and how that's changed the landscape. But if one of these young ladies came to you, and obviously as a senior, that conversation would have happened last year or the year before, what do you do as a coach to help them achieve that goal of playing at the next level?
Yeah, I think just talking to them about what they truly want in a school, and basketball aside, what do you want in the actual school? If you were to get injured and you could never play again, would you like where you're going? And is it academically going to fit what you want it to? And then on top of that, once they have about 10 schools usually that they're looking at, you try to break it down by the program. Is it a program that's doing well or at least on the upswing? Is it something where you're going to be forced to kind of rebuild the whole thing? What's the coach like? What are the players like? I think the biggest thing is just getting them on campus and having them experience it for themselves. And then from there, we contact coaches. I know a ton of coaches around here, which is nice. So we have a good relationship, and hopefully that rapport helps because I'm texting all the time with different coaches and calling and emailing.
Now, a lot of coaches have talked about the proliferation of club teams and AAU teams, whether it be basketball or soccer or even indoor baseball. I mean, I think football right now is the only sport that you can't play year-round, even if you wanted to. How has the introduction of these clubs or private teams, AAU teams, changed the recruiting process? Do you find that you still get the calls as much, or are they going to the AAU because they can see more players at one time?
I think the questions that I get asked has changed. So usually they're introduced to student athletes at the AAU level. So they can see more kids, like you said. They can see more players at one time. And the good news is that there's so many good players that it would be really hard to go to one kid at one high school and one kid at the next. So it's a little different there. The questions I get pertain more to their character. I get a ton of, and that's what I wish everybody would know, is that the things they ask me most are, do you like coaching this kid? Do the teammates like playing with this kid? Is she tough? Does she cry at practice when you make her do something she doesn't want? You know, it's all these little things, and that's the big stuff. You know, and when they can say, okay, that's all good and that's in place, now I'll go back to the basketball scene. And you know, fortunately for me, I always have really good things to say.
I was going to say it must be easy for you, because you could say that about virtually every player on the roster for the last 7 years.
Yeah.
And that's been a characteristic, that's been a trait of this program, and I think that's a testament to you and what you've been trying to build here and what you've been successful at building. When we come back, we're going to have a chance to talk to the players themselves. We've been talking about them, and they've been blushing over here, and obviously they're very, very humble young women, but we want to get their perspective and hear it directly from them. So when we come back, we're going to meet the co-captains and talk to the co-captains, Taylor Perry, Brianna Herlihy, and get their perspectives on the season, on their high school careers, and what we have to look forward to in the upcoming years. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to It's Still a Game. I'm your host, Al Barisi, and tonight we're talking girls basketball. We have the head coach and the co-captains of the Braintree High School varsity basketball program. And right now we'd like to introduce the two co-captains. Ladies, if you wouldn't mind taking a couple seconds, and Taylor, we'll start with you.
Hi, I'm Taylor Perry, and I am a senior co-captain for the Braintree girls basketball team. I am a part of the Bible study club at Braintree High School. When I'm not playing basketball, I'm usually focusing more on my academics.
Great. Brianna, what about you?
I am Brianna Herlihy, also a senior co-captain on the basketball team. Other than basketball, I play volleyball and run track, and I also focus on academics when I'm not playing.
Great. Well, ladies, again, thank you very much for taking the time to come on the program. You have assumed the mantle of co-captains of the Braintree High School girls basketball program. That's not a shabby title to have. When you found out that your teammates had elected you co-captain, how did that make you feel? What were the emotions that you were thinking at that point? Brianna, we'll start with you.
Well, it was just a super exciting moment because I'd seen like all the captains before, and like I've always like looked up to them and like known that I've always wanted to be like them, and like being able to like have the opportunity was like a really exciting moment for me.
Did that put pressure on you? Did you feel like the spotlight's on me now, I got to perform, I got to step up?
Yeah, it was a bit nerve-wracking because, you know, like when like things were getting tough during games, like people would look to you, but like it was still just like a really exciting moment. Like,
Taylor, what about you?
Like Brianna said, it was very exciting. I count it an honor to be the captain, being able to lead them. Just with the other girls from last year, it was just such a big it's just a big job to really take on. I'm not the most talkative on the team, so it put a lot of pressure on me, but it was good pressure. It allowed me to mature more and become a leader. So I thank the girls for that.
Now, Coach, you've talked about how their styles differ a little bit and how they complement each other. And Can you talk a little bit about how the captains are selected and how important it is to have captains like this where you're not in the building all day? You don't work at Braintree High School, so you're not here during the day when they're in class.
Yeah, it's huge. They do so much for me. I think this was a really easy year for picking captains, to be honest. We had a little talk after the season, and we picked them right after the season ends with the kids that know them the best. And it was like boom, boom, not even a question of who was going to get it. And I don't think it was a surprise to anyone. They both deserve it. They have a very unique leadership style, and I think it's probably the best one you can have because they do it all the right way, and then everybody else knows they have to live up to that. So instead of just talking about it and getting people all charged up and everything, they go out and do it, which says a lot about them.
Now, we've got two different paths to this title of co-captain, of team leader. Taylor, you've been a part of the program for 4 years, but you haven't been a varsity player since you were a freshman. Brianna, you've stepped into the spotlight from a freshman, and you had your older sister and girls that you played on the AAU program, and those are totally different paths. Taylor, did you feel like there was a lot of pressure on you that you hadn't been part of this, and now you have to step into a leadership role? What were you thinking when you found that out, and how did you prepare for the role?
It was a lot of pressure, but I knew that I could handle it. I was just excited that the girls thought of me to be able to lead them. It was just, I don't know, it kind of made me feel good about myself and just gave me a lot of confidence because I'm not, like I said, I'm not one of the most talkative girls on the team. And from the beginning, like when I first started playing varsity, I was kind of more shy, but just knowing that they thought of me kind of made me feel better about myself, and it allowed me to know that I can actually do it and gave me more confidence.
So self-admittedly, you said that being vocal is not your strong point. You're not a talkative captain. So when you were made a leader, how do you demonstrate that leadership? What do you do to lead the team if it's not yelling and screaming and talking and you do it other ways? What do you do?
Oh, well, I do a lot of the talking like during the games and like on the bench and in practice, but like when it's, I don't know, I let Brianna do more of that. I kind of just agree with Brianna, because I don't know, just whatever Brianna says, yeah, that's right, yeah.
I think one of the comments that I've heard most often from the coaching staff and what little I talk to the players when they talk about Taylor is they love her. She hustles. She works harder than anybody else on the program. There's nobody on the team that you can say works harder than Taylor Perry. And I think that's a testament to and the fact that her teammates saw those qualities in her to make her a captain. And I think that's important, and that's for something the audience needs to know about somebody who hasn't been in the spotlight for 4 years, but has been there and part of the program for 4 years. Now, Brianna, you're the other side of the spectrum. You were a starter as a freshman, and you've had the spotlight on you from the very beginning. You've had a core group that were AAU teammates forever, and I'm talking that goes 7, 8 deep on the bench last year. I mean, you guys have been together for a long time. When you stepped into that leadership role, and all of a sudden the support group, the Shirelles, if you were, aren't there. Okay, you're by yourself now. You're the leader, and you're on top. How did that make you feel? What kind of pressures did you face?
Well, it was definitely a super scary moment because, I mean, they've been there like since the moment I've stepped on to, like into Braintree High School. So when they left, I just like it was like a weird feeling because I knew that like I was in their shoes now, and that like I had to follow what they had been doing all the years, and like they wouldn't be there to like help me along with the process. So like I had to start doing it like all on my own.
And so how do you demonstrate your leadership? Are you more vocal than Taylor? I mean, what do you do that says this is what a captain has to do?
Taylor's definitely more vocal. she was always like screaming and stuff, and I don't know, I kind of just try to show it more like by example, I guess. Like try to like be like, all right, this is what we have to do, like work hard and like box out and stuff, and like just kind of doing it by showing it. And if like you do it, I feel like people around will like follow you.
And we do want to take an opportunity to congratulate you on some individual accolades. Last week you attained the 1,000-point mark, which again, congratulations. And you've been nominated for the McDonald's All-America team, so again, congratulations. But even with those individual accolades, the one thing, and this is even funnier when you talk to fans in the stands, the one word they say over and over and over again is unselfish. That if anything, the team makes too many passes and nobody wants to take the shot. And I remember the incident you were telling me, and unfortunately we weren't there to cover the game, when you were trying to get Molly Reagan her 1,000th point, and she wouldn't shoot the ball. And she kept passing to somebody else, and you're like, take the shot. That's indicative of this team. And again, that's a culture that you build. How important is it to the success of this team that they're so unselfish?
Oh, it's everything. It really is. I mean, for any younger player out there, I think these two represent everything good about basketball. And one is the star of the team, gets tons of minutes, and the other is the greatest at her role, which is a supportive role. She's there for everyone. Her teammates feel like they can go to her with things. She's on the bench going crazy, and like she said, she's not a talkative kid, but she's talkative when it's important, and it's not going in and doing the rah-rah, hey, let's go, and it's at practice when we need energy, and she's the one that brings it. And Brianna's the same way. They know when someone needs to step up, and it's useful talk. It's not just talking to be heard. It's actual useful, productive talk, and I think that's a huge credit. They're so unselfish. I mean, even this year, trying to get Brianna to 1,000 points, and I didn't tell her until she was 33 away, because we never try to get them nervous about stuff. But even then, it was like trying to get her to shoot and drawing up plays that were going to get her to shoot and having her make amazing passes out of it. So it's comical the entire time, but it's a huge tribute to them.
Well, and it doesn't happen often. It's happened a few times, and I can think of a couple of instances. But when you talk to coaches, they almost say they'd rather have a captain who wasn't a star, who wasn't a starter, because that just magnifies the amount of leadership that individual has. That shows what their teammates think of them. And again, everybody has said that about Taylor. And again, not taking anything away from Brianna, because she's had the accolades. It was almost like if she hadn't been a captain, that would have been a noteworthy point. And to have Taylor be the captain just magnifies the leadership qualities that she has. So again, we'll get off that soapbox, and I'll let you guys take a breath for a second. But talk about, from a player's perspective, undefeated season, Division I state champions. You've done it all, and now you got to start this season all over again. And you start from square one. And what's it feel like to know that you're going to get everybody's best game? You've got the target on your back, and everybody's expecting you to repeat. What kind of pressures did that put on you guys in the off season when you played summer ball, as you played other sports, as you got ready for the season? What was going through your mind, Taylor?
Kind of just took it one day at a time and one game at a time. Kind of just didn't think about trying to go into. Of course, you go into a game wanting to win, but kind of just try and take it one game at a time. It put a lot of pressure on us, just trying to keep it a leveled season from last year, and just keep everything the same and not go down. So we just try to really keep the same type of energy and everything for the next season.
Brianna, what about you?
I agree. It's super exciting to know that everyone's gonna play their best against you, so you're never gonna have a boring game, and it's just we know it's a ton of pressure, but it's fun to just have everyone's best game and know you have to go out there and play your heart out.
Is it kind of deflating when you play Bishop Fien, who's ranked number 2, to your number 1, the second game of the season? I mean, is that almost kind of anticlimactic? Would you have rather played them later in the year, or do you even care what other teams' records or other teams' rankings are? Brianna?
I mean, we did kind of look at the game oh, it's Bishop Fien, we know they're really good, but I mean, I don't think it mattered what time we played them in the season. The game would have been the same. We would have given them our same game, they would have given us their same game. So it was basically it wasn't that much of a position in the season type of thing.
Taylor, what about you?
I agree with Brianna. Just playing them a couple of games into the season, I thought it gave us a lot of confidence. Not really of course we're going to play some teams that it's going to be an easy game, but just to know that we can play Bishop Fien and have a good game, and it just helped us get better and prepare for more of the tough games later on in the season.
Now, is it more exciting for you guys when you play teams from out of state? I mean, you've had the opportunity to play in the Hoop Hall Classic. Last year we hosted the Holiday Invitational. And so you have teams from other New England teams, New York, Christ the King comes to mind, the team from Providence comes to mind. Is it more fun for you to play other teams and feel now we can really test ourselves, we really can see how good we are? I mean, you were nationally ranked. You were in the top 25 in the country last year. But you don't really get an opportunity to test yourselves against other teams other than the local Massachusetts teams. How did that make you feel?
I thought it was kind of exciting just to play a team that is from another state and kind of just showcase our talents towards other states and stuff.
Brianna, what about you?
Yeah, I agree. It's like a really exciting feeling because like you've never seen these teams play before. Like you know how like Weymouth plays and like Framingham, but like being able to like go into a completely like new game, it's just like a really exciting feeling.
Coach, what about your perspective? From a coach's perspective, when you get fresh meat, I guess, other teams that have never played against you before, what's that like and how does that help you build a program?
Yeah, I think it's a great test every time. You know, it also gives you a little perspective of how you stand outside your state and your region. I think more than that, it's just fun. You know, it's something different. It's not the same. You know, we play a ton of league games. We don't have that many out of league games. So it's fun to have a completely new team, completely new vibe, and these guys do a good job with it.
Now, you guys just had a very emotional evening. We had senior day last Thursday evening. You played Weymouth, which is typically an arch rival game. But you also had the recognition with your parents for senior night and were recognized as having your high school basketball career just about coming to an end. And then you had a presentation from two little girls from the Braintree Youth Basketball Program. When you were playing for Braintree Youth Basketball, were you that aware of the players up here at Braintree High School? Did you know who the key players were? Did you follow the team, or was this something new that happened after you came up to the high school? Brianna?
I remember being like knowing about some of the players and like knowing like the big players. And I remember going to one of the Garden games when I was really young. I think it was the one where they won the state championship. But like I always knew that there was like a team up here, and like this is what I always like when I was playing, like this is what I always wanted to do. Like I wanted to play for the high school. So like I feel like they feel the same way. So like we have the same kind of.
Are you aware now that you're the one they're looking up to, that they want to be Brianna or they want to be Taylor, and you see those little girls and they're trying to emulate you and they're holding you up on a pedestal and they want to be where you are?
I mean, you see them like they're at like all our games, and it's just a really great feeling, and it just makes me want to like play all, like that much harder, like for them, so they know like this is what you have to do like to play at this level, and like just like for them so that they can like get excited and stuff.
Taylor, what about you? Did you know the players up here when you were playing for BYB, and now are you aware of how that's flipped and you're an idol, you're a role model that these kids want to be?
Actually, I have not played BYB. I actually moved here from another town.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but just to talk about how when I was on JV, looking up to the girls on varsity, I always wanted to really play like them. When I was playing in my games, like, oh, how can I go for the ball like Ashley goes for the ball? How can I do this? How can I do that? So I kind of just worked hard. I looked up to Ashley, Bridget, Molly, all of the girls. So it was a really good experience.
So your role models were your friends.
Yeah.
Now, are you aware of the impact you have on the little kids in BYB right now?
Yeah, I am very aware. A lot of the girls, they like follow us on social media and stuff, and so I see them in the mall. I'm like, hey Taylor, I'm like, oh hi. Like, so I don't really know their names, but I know where they're from. They're from Braintree.
You got groupies. I mean, does it make you self-conscious a little bit that you got to watch everything because you never know who's watching you?
Yeah, definitely.
Now, you're both seniors, and again, there are a lot of things in store for you in the future. Have you decided where you're going to school, Taylor?
I have not. I've gotten a couple of acceptance letters, but I have not really found out which schools I'm going to attend yet.
Are we going to jinx you if we ask you who they are, or you just
I only had one acceptance letter, UMass Boston, but I'm still keeping it open for all the other schools.
Would you like to try to play at the next level?
I have not been thinking about playing at the next level. Kind of want to focus more on my career and stuff.
What do you want to do?
I'm not really sure about
okay.
that.
There's no.
Yeah, I'm going to take my time with it.
Brianna, we kind of stole the thunder. I mean, everybody knows that you've committed to Villanova. I mean, you're going to join your sister there. How big was that in your decision-making process, or did you just feel like this was the best fit for me?
It played a pretty big role because like I knew that, I mean, I played with her like all my life, and like I just really wanted to like keep playing with her, and she was like my best friend. Like I don't even know like if I would be able to play without her. Like it's hard even this year, but like the school itself was like such a great place that like her being there was like that much better of like a plus for that school.
Well, we want to wish you the best of luck, and we want to congratulate you both on a tremendous high school career and a tremendous season so far. We know we've still got work to do, so it's not done yet. Final question, I wanted you to reflect a little bit as you've come up through the ranks from the communities that you've played in and up through Braintree Youth Sports and the high school programs, and as your senior year is winding down, who are the people that have had the greatest impact on you? Who are the people that have influenced you the most? And they don't necessarily have to be sports stars. Taylor, we'll start with you.
Just growing up playing basketball in the communities that I would play in, I've never seen them so compared to Braintree, I've never seen like the dedication to the youth and making sure that they grow up knowing how to play basketball and the fundamentals. I've never seen that before. So just some of the people who I kind of looked up to or had a huge effect on my life is the coaching staff really at Braintree. They've always been there for me through everything. Always helped me just to become the mature young lady that I am today.
It's a pretty accurate testament, and I think a lot of people would echo that sentiment as well. Brianna, what about you?
I'd have to say my parents, because even like when I started playing, I played like a lot of sports when I was a kid. Like I don't want to say like they forced me, but like they made me like try everything to like see what I liked the best. And I remember like going into sports and being like, no, I don't want to play this. Like, no, I don't want to play that. But like they made me try it because like you never know. And like I'm just glad that they like made me try basketball and like made me keep playing and like stick with it. And like they came to like all my games and they've always supported me, and it's just like the best feeling to have them there like by your side and like supporting everything. Like even when you don't have the best game, like they're still there and they're like, it's okay, like you'll next time.
Taylor, I see you nodding your head. You feel the same way about your folks too?
Yeah, definitely.
Good. Well, ladies, again, we want to wish you the best of luck in the tournament. We want to congratulate you on a tremendous season and a tremendous career here at Braintree High School. You've made Womp Nation very, very proud. As a small token of appreciation just for taking time to come on the show, we've got a gift certificate for you from Womp Pizzeria. Nothing major. Don't get all excited. You can't take the whole team, but we just want to say thanks for doing this. And Coach, again, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your co-captains with us and sharing your thoughts on girls basketball and basketball in general. And I think it does a lot to help promote the visibility for the program, and we just appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks, and thanks for all your support beyond this.
No, this is fun. I mean, I get to go along for the ride and get to see some things that not a lot of people get to see in terms of the competition and the level of play, and it's a blast, and I'm just thankful I'm a part of it. When you check out BCAM, we want to remind everybody that coming up very, very shortly, BCAM's website is going to have a new format. So stay tuned. You're going to see some new and exciting things. BCAM does a great job supporting the entire community, not just the athletics in the community. As they tell everybody, use this as a tool to tell your story. BCAM's one of the best vehicles to let everybody know what's going on in the town of Braintree. So stay tuned. The new website is coming up very, very soon. The address will stay the same. It'll be bcam.tv. And again, we want to thank these young ladies as they enter into their final MIAA postseason tournament in girls basketball. They're defending their state championship. They're defending an undefeated season. We promise you that you will not be disappointed when you get a chance to see these young ladies play. The schedule will be announced the end of next week. So just keep your eye on Braintree Patch, keep your eye on the Patriot Ledger, the Braintree Forum. The schedule will be out there. Come out and check these young ladies. You'll see some very, very elite level basketball. And these ladies put a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of work into the success that they're achieving right now. They don't do it for the glory. They don't do it for endorsements. They don't do it for the notoriety. They do it because for them, it's still a game. We'll see you next time.